You know, have you ever wished you could just step back and see the hidden patterns in your own mind to find that one big idea that you've been circling for years, maybe without even realizing it? Well, today we're diving into a really fascinating experiment where one scholar used AI to do exactly that, creating a kind of mirror for more than a decade of his own thoughts.
I mean, just think about it. Imagine everything you've ever underlined, every little note you've jotted down in the margins of a book that really means something to you. For this scholar, Mark Hirayama, that whole digital trail became this accidental time capsule of his own intellectual and, really, his spiritual journey.
So the story kicks off back in 2008. Hirayama starts this deep dive into A Course in Miracles, which is a pretty well-known self-study spiritual text. A year later, he goes digital, switches to the Kindle version, and for years he's just highlighting passages, making notes. Then, nothing. That digital archive just sits there, forgotten in the cloud, until 2024. A new device suddenly gives him access to it all again, like a digital ghost of his former self just reappeared. And what he found was just staggering. We're not talking about a few notes here and there. We're talking 759 highlights and 23 really detailed annotations. It all added up to over 110,000 characters. I mean, that is a massive, totally unfiltered data set of one person's mind evolving over 15 years. That's way too much for any one person to easily make sense of. And that's when you got an idea. He decided to point a large language model, a powerful AI, at all of this deeply personal data. But this wasn't about asking the AI for its opinion or anything like that. It was about using it as a completely new kind of tool for self-reflection. And this really gets to the heart of the whole experiment. The AI wasn't the author, it wasn't the expert. He used it as a mirror for thought, a tool that could objectively map out all the connections and themes inside his own notes and hopefully show him patterns that he himself had completely missed.
So the big question was pretty simple. Could an AI actually analyze all this sprawling personal data and find the fundamental structure? Could it pinpoint the core question his own subconscious mind kept coming back to again and again? And the answer, it turns out, was a resounding yes.
So what did it find? Well, the AI's most profound discovery was that nearly all 759 of those highlights, they all revolved around a single fundamental conflict, a clash between two totally opposite ways of seeing the world. The AI basically distilled 15 years of notes down to this one core battle. On one side, you have what the text calls the ego's world. It's all built on difference, separation, specialness, and time. And on the other side, you have what it calls spirit's reality, which is defined by the complete opposite: sameness, wholeness, universality, and eternity.
And what the AI analysis made crystal clear was that this wasn't just one theme among many. No, this conflict was the foundational structure. It was the central drama that tied all those scattered thoughts and highlights together into one single coherent story.
Okay, so let's zoom in on that first worldview, the ego's world. According to the AI's analysis of all those notes, how exactly does this thing operate?
One key quote the AI pulled out really became the cornerstone for this whole analysis. Illusions are always illusions of differences. I mean, that one single idea pretty much explains the ego's entire operating system. Its whole game is based on constantly creating and then focusing on different.
So the AI's conclusion was that the ego's #1 strategy is to build a world based on separation. It's always pushing us to compare, to judge, to categorize, anything to reinforce this core belief that we are fundamentally separate from one another. And the AI even identified the ego's main tool for creating all these differences, this drive for specialness. This need to be special is totally rooted in comparison. It actually needs to see a lack in someone else to establish its own unique value. And according to the texts that were highlighted, this hunt for specialness, it comes at a huge cost. The AI's analysis showed this direct, inverse relationship. The more a person pursues being special, the more it just tanks their sense of peace and their ability to trust other people. So this reveals the central paradox of the ego's world, right? This whole search for safety by trying to be special is a complete trap. It's self-defeating. It promises you security, but all it ever delivers is deeper isolation. So,
What's the alternative then?
And this leads us to probably the most surprising insight from the entire experiment. The resolution to this really deep-seated conflict, it turns out to be a kind of cosmic punchline.
Right. So if the world of the ego is just a trap built on some tragic mistake, how do you get out? You'd probably expect the answer to be struggle or discipline or some intense effort. But the AI pointed to something else entirely.
The AI flagged this one quote as the ultimate punchline. And in the language of the text, this whole drama of separation, it all started with a tiny mad idea at which the Son of God remembered not to laugh. Think about that. The problem wasn't the absurd thought itself. It was that we forgot to laugh at it. We took it seriously.
The AI basically framed this as the cosmic joke. The way out of the ego's world isn't to fight it on its own terms. It's simpler than that. It's to see the initial premise, this idea that we're all separate, for the absolute absurdity it is, and to laugh, to just withdraw your belief from.
So what does this whole fascinating one-of-a-kind experiment really teach us? Well, it points to a totally new kind of relationship we can have with technology. Ultimately, what this explainer shows us is that AI can be so much more than just a search engine or a productivity tool. When you point it at your own intellectual trail, it can actually become a partner in discovery, a mirror that helps you see the hidden architecture of your own mind and the fundamental stories you've been telling yourself all along. And that really leaves us with a final thought to chew on. In our own lives, with our own struggles and all our very serious ideas, what tiny, mad idea that seems so incredibly real and important might we simply be forgetting to laugh at?